Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up?
Welcome to the 95th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-hosts Andrew Normand and Thomas S. Today's topic is humility. Can you share what this means to you, Andrew, and why you're happy to discuss this topic here today?
Absolutely. Welcome back, Tom. Missed you, bro. Missed you, man. Missed you, man. We got Canada, America, and Mexico on lock today, guys. Everybody's on lock. Everybody's here playing games.
We're free trading ideas.
Facts. Love it. Love it, man. I love you guys. So recovery, humility. I always talk about the two biggest things for me are humility and love. Humility plays a vital role in my recovery. It allows me to acknowledge my limitations. I need support. I've been trying to run my own thing for a long time, and I've realized that as I come into this program that I need support. And I'm not the thing that's making this whole thing go around. So to foster that personal growth, man, I need help. I need help. And it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. We talk about it a lot here where people love to talk about themselves, Milan. And so, asking somebody for something that they had, if somebody has something that you want in this program, ask them how they did it. Be humble enough to ask them how they did it. You might just find out how to do that thing. And being able to understand that when you don't have the answers, humbling yourself, it's not a sign of humiliation. When I came in here, I had it mixed up. Humiliation and humility were kind of the same things when I came in here, and that's not the case. Humility is a sign of strength. It really is. It allows me to be honest and transparent, and be willing to ask for help. And then it allows me to have a more balanced approach to this thing. If I can level out and stay humble. So we'll pass that to you, Tom.
My take on humility and what it means to me. Well, I say this regularly when I have the opportunity to in AA meetings. Humility is the most attractive characteristic another human being can have for me. And when I see that in another human, I'm immediately drawn to them, and I know that they've got what I want, so to speak. And the reason I love this topic so much is because it's elusive for a guy like me. Being right-sized, right? Not too big or not too small. And I have the tendency to fluctuate between the two extremes, depending on the situation and how it makes me feel. So when I can remember that we are all just people trying to do our best, and everybody, the whole world, not just people in recovery rooms. We all have different experiences. We all have different damages. We all have different successes. We're all different people working, playing cards with different hands and trying to make it turn out as best we can. And when I'm able to realize that and remember that, which, I was just saying before we got on, that before we started recording this, it is not a regular occurrence when I'm able to live in a real place of true humility. And I want to more and more. So, it's for me, it's the goal. I think everything good that I want trickles down from a place of humility. When I can remember that I am doing my best, and I'm not in charge of every single thing in the world, and I don't need to make things look the way that I think they should look all the time. A, because that's impossible and I'll never be able to do it. And B, because I don't fucking know what's good and what's bad, frankly. I don't know what should happen and what shouldn't happen. Oftentimes, many things happen that I think aren't good and turn out to be great, and vice versa. Something happens that's phenomenal, and then it turns out to be not as good as I thought. So this concept of humility for me is, it's a feeling that I get in my chest, that's it goes hand in hand with like serenity. I cannot be serene if I can't find a level of humility, because I'm always moving and thinking and judging and wondering what if, and it's exhausting. So that's what I look for. That's what I try for.
Awesome. It's great to have you back, Tom, and it's great to see you, Andrew. I missed you since Saturday, brother.
Love you, man.
Yeah, humility, like, man, I think my first experience with humility was my step one. And that kind of actual, after 17 years of me thinking I was powerful and controlling my shit and able to master my substances, I finally had to, you know, be in a state of humility enough to say I was powerless. And I knew my life was unmanageable, but the powerlessness part, that was the hard part of step one for me. And then without some humility, during my step four, it wouldn't have been as complete. It wouldn't have been accurate. I would have stayed behind my defensive delusions that were enabling my using. Like I would have hid behind it being your fault. And you should have still been in the apology lineup, because it really was no part of mine until I brought some humility into that. And so it's just something that I definitely like what you said there, Tom, about it being elusive. You know, if you're thinking you're humble, you probably just crossed that line. And I'm going to leave that there
Yeah.
because I think we got a bunch of great questions, and I'm just so grateful for you guys being here and looking forward to the conversation today. Andrew, you
Oh
want to
yeah,
ask
man.
Tom the first question?
I would love to. I would love to. Tom, do you think ego is a bigger threat when you're struggling or when things are going great?
Mm.
Spicy.
Yo, I love the format you guys have of the podcast. You know what I mean? Like, just so everybody's aware, I have no idea what's coming at me when I sit down in this chair, and I dig that.
I don't think we announce that very often, by the way. I think most people think we know the questions first.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
So I'm
no idea.
glad you just announced that, because that's actually a good point for the audience.
Yeah. Well, my first thought and the thing that I struggle with the most, and my initial reaction to your question, Andrew, is when things are going well. I have the tendency to uh, think that good things happen to me because of the things that I do. And I earn it, and I did it, and I must be getting this because I XYZ, inflated sense of ego. I have that problem, and I always have. Um, that's what's on the surface, right? That's what I can tap into the most easily. That became apparent to me. Let's say it this way. That became apparent to me when I first got sober, right? Prior to that, nothing was fucking apparent to me, right? I was operating, just being dragged around by my emotions, and I had no idea what was what. I first got sober, and in like cleaning all the shit out of my head and body, and working through a set of steps, that became apparent to me. And it's not an easy like pill to swallow, right? Like, oh, I'm this. I think I'm this whatever great guy, and like that. That's not easy to admit, because that's not what I want to be, nor is that at all who I'm attracted to. I see that sort of individual, and it is very off-putting to me. So for me to, recognize that and admit it was not the most fun thing. Now I'll say this, as I've stayed sober longer and as I have done more work, and frankly, I've done a lot of work in AA, I've done a lot of work in therapy, and those have all been very helpful. My work in my marriage has helped me understand more about myself as well. My wife is not sober, doesn't need to be sober, but has done a lot of work on herself. So we have a lot of back and forth sometimes when I'm able to hear it, because that's a whole nother fucking can of worms we don't need to open up. But when I'm able to hear it, I realize that ego, that inflated self, is really a defense mechanism for the other side of the coin, right? The less than, the not good enough. I'm gonna ramble here a minute, guys. I'm sorry.
We are loving this, man.
Come on, man.
So a little personal background about me, and by the way, this took a lot of time and a lot of work to like dig up and uncover. But my story is I was adopted when I was a baby at birth. And I didn't think that mattered. I grew up with a lovely family, and I won't go into the whole thing. But it took years, and this was just actually a couple years ago. I like started digging and uncovering all this shit within me. It took a lot of time to realize that like I was deeply fucking affected by that. And I never felt like I fit in with my family, who are lovely people, and I love my parents very much, and I have a great relationship with them. Never felt like I fit in with them. So a couple years ago, I started doing all this digging. Incidentally, I found out that my genetic father was an alcoholic who killed himself when he was 34 or some shit. Like that made perfect fucking sense. Oh, okay, now I can relate to the guy who killed himself at the age of 30 much more than I can my like really lovely buttoned up parents, which is wild to think of and makes no sense to anybody except for you guys probably, and people that, might have the same problem as us. But point is, like, I went through my life, my childhood, feeling very not part of, not good enough. And I was good at shit. I was good at sports. I was good at school. People liked me, but I did not fucking get it. I had no ability to understand those things and react to them like a normal person might. I was always coming from a hurt place and a place of pain and a place of not feeling part of. And, I look back on some of the old home videos that my parents had of me as like a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, and I can see the like disconnect in my eyes. It's fucking wild to see it. So really, the ego, the good time, I deserve this, I'm so great person, that's just a fallacy, man. That's just fake projection, like defense mechanism for the hurt person, the person who's not doing so well. And that's the guy that if I tap into, that's where I get my answers. That's where I get my healing from. Not the inflated, big, tough guy, look at me, woo-woo, fucking idiot. It's the hurt child individual that when I'm in that space, that lower, like that, neither one are humble. Neither one have a sense of humility. They're the opposite ends of the spectrum. When I tap into that guy, that's where the healing happens. And so to answer your question, I don't know which one is worse or which one is more dangerous. They both are very prevalent, but I didn't know either one of them existed until I got sober. And then I didn't even know that the real one the not fake one, the hurt one. I didn't know that he existed until a couple of years ago, right? When I started digging into that, because I just couldn't understand where like the anger and the nonsense and the whatever was really coming from, right? And I don't want to be, and I'm the kind of person that doesn't, you'll see a lot of people that get sober and they're sober for 30 years and that's it. And they have a couple divorces and they, you know, the kids don't talk to them and whatever. And I don't want to be that guy, right? I want to have it all. I want to fucking have it all. And I need to do all of the work. I need to dig it all out, figure out why I'm so fucked up, frankly, and clean it all up as best I can because I want it all, like I said. And it's hard work. And that's why humility is so important to me because it's complicated. It's really complicated. And yeah, sorry, that was a roundabout.
That was a beautiful answer, man. That was beautiful.
Woo!
You hit it from
Man,
all angles, man.
I'm so glad you came back, Tom.
I am too, man.
I enjoy you and your thought process immensely. Immensely.
I
I'm giving some
look at it like
gratitude for you.
it's like a breath of fresh air kind of for me. Like I'm just breathing. I'm like, Tom's back, man. That was nice. All right, you ready, Mr. Milan?
Yeah, I need the question again.
All right, man. All right, remember. Okay, so do you think ego is a bigger threat when you're struggling or when things are going great?
Well, I think I feel like it's sneakier when things are going great because I always like, okay, this is an example for me. I'll be playing a song that's like right at the very edge of my very capabilities. I'll be on stage. I'll pass one part and I'll be like, think to myself, holy fuck, you're doing amazing. And I'll fucking flub and I'll crash that song. It'll be like the worst song of the night. And so like, I know when I'm celebrating victories on my ego before I even hit the finish line, there's trouble coming. like that is just like a pattern I've recognized in myself for decades. But I think though it's sneakier and more troublesome for me when I'm not doing well. Because my ego starts to be like, you're the one who's going to remove this defect. You're the one who needs to work on this. And like some friend mentioned before, this isn't a program of self-improvement. This is a program of surrender. And ultimately, I'm not the one who's supposed to remove those. But when I'm on a low and in a bad place, I can really forget that super well. And you know, and so that's become like a big part of like my morning prayer now is being grateful for the ability to surrender those defects and the opportunity to do so again today. And so I think for me, like in my current life, it's more dangerous for me when it's on the downside because I can get myself really fucking wound up and fool myself much easier than you know, on the high side it seems to happen faster and pass faster and it's over faster. But if I'm like going down and stuck in that trough of shit going on in my life, woe is me, pity fucking party, angry man, you know, I can perpetuate longer and I don't like that. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that there.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. And when I thought about this question, my initial thought was when I'm doing bad, when I'm not doing well, that ego is more of a threat to me. But as I started thinking about it, it really turned to when when I'm doing well, when I'm struggling, I'm more apt to reach out. I'm more apt to staying tight up on the program and really nestling up to my meetings and my home group, my sponsor. And I stay connected at that point because I really, when I feel myself getting in those spots, like I'm really connected in this program. But when I'm doing well, I think I got stuff handled. That's when I stopped going to meetings, all my meetings, and I stopped reaching out to all the people that I surround myself with. And that's when things get a little hairy for me. And then I can go from being on a on a 10 to get knocked down to a 0 quick. Just like it was a perfect example you said, Milan, where you're like rolling in that song, you think it's like the best song you've done all year, and then you just and you just yeah, it just spirals downhill. It spirals downhill. But you mentioned something. You're able to see that. You're able to see those precursors now, right, Milan? Like you can probably notice when you're getting into one of those lanes, and you can probably calm that down a little bit and maybe
I'm
make that
anticipating the problem the second
exactly,
I tell myself I'm fucking great. Like
exactly, and
honestly, like
that's
it's
a
not a.
it's a man working a program. That's a man working a program, right? You've noticed those things. You're like, man, I don't want to ruin this fucking song. Like I'm gonna back up a little bit and notice that, right? So humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less, right? I've heard that said too. We confuse humility with like low self-worth, and that's not the case. You know, if I'm gonna if you know when I you know, just the way I handle myself in meetings, I try to handle myself, you know, humble is what I try to exude, right? If I, you know, I answer people yes sir, no sir, and I don't do that because I'm cowing down to them or anything, or I'm less than they are, but I'm just showing respect. It's about a mutual respect for somebody else and when in their viewpoints. You know, it teaches me that I'm worthy, but I'm not the center of the universe, right? I'm not the center of the universe, which I thought I always was. And so I surround myself with people that think that same way. Like I'm never going to find help hanging out with helpless people, and I'm never going to find hope hanging out with hopeless people. So I try to surround myself with people who are doing the same things I'm doing. And we come onto these meetings, I meet a lot of people. Tom, I know you, man. I would have never known this guy if I would. Milan, I would never ever have thought about knowing you guys. Never run into you guys, and like y'all are helping me stay alive just for today, right? And so this thing is so beautiful. I can be more of an honest person when I'm staying tapped into the program, but when I think about my ego, because my ego is not my amigo, and it just got out every time. Um, you know, it's a bigger threat when I'm doing well because I will get off of my, you know, I won't do, you know, I might not do my step work if I'm flying high. You know what I mean? If I've got those endorphins going off of something natural that I'm going through, I'm way less apt to be tapped into my program. Um, so yeah, when I'm doing well, I got to really watch myself. But again, I know when I'm getting into that lane and everything's really going well, I know I need to kind of back down and focus on some step work. And get myself notched down or help somebody else out. You know, if I help another addict out, that kind of knocks me down off my high horse too. So that was I'll take that and pass that to you, Milan. I guess you will ask a question, or Mr. Tom
No,
will ask.
no. Tommy's gonna ask me a question.
Awesome.
Tom the Bomb.
Y'all took my answer, man.
Well,
That was beautiful. I love that last one. That was great. I love you guys,
this
man.
this just came to me because I like real life examples and not us just waxing poetic, quoting the big book, you
Let's
know.
do it.
Milan, if you can, uh, what is, can you give me like a concrete example of the last time in your life you got in sobriety, you got into trouble, into, um, you know, maybe you wanted to drink, maybe you didn't want to drink, but you really turned into an asshole for a while, maybe, you know, and how you pulled yourself out of that.
Well, okay, like I wouldn't have called it real trouble, but you know, we have my father-in-law living with us who's in like a real distressed health situation ever since we've been in Silene actually. Like him and my wife left early and he's been he lives inside with us now and it's been like 2 to 3 times to the hospital a week and the just series after series after series. But problem is that now we're getting the knock, knock, knock at like 11, at 1, at 3 in the morning, and you know, it's truly exhausting. It's truly exhausting, and you know, there's this guy who comes to town when I'm real tired, jerk face Milan, and you know, like I really felt myself the other morning just kind of like firing off sentences that I should not be saying. And the reality is I was not being nice. I was coming from a place of hurt, but that's a rationalization of that kind of action. And and it took me about, man, 2.5, 3 hours that morning to finally come back and make an amends towards that. But that was Monday morning. Like, we're on Wednesday now. So that's like the most recent thing where I felt like I was just spiraling, like I had a real bad case of the fuck it, the fuck yous, the whatever, like, and I couldn't reel it in. I was like watching it, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, fuck, I hate this guy. Like, I literally loathe myself while I'm doing it. And I'm like, whoa, trying to pull those reins, and those reins are just pulled right out of my hand, and I'm like, here we go again. Fuck, I hope we stop soon. Like, yeah. And so, I mean, that's the most instant thing that comes to mind, yeah. Uh, I don't really have another one than that, but I felt enough shame about that, like, it's like service isn't always easy, man.
Mm.
Like, and true service when you're actually really trying to take care of somebody who needs it is rarely a fun thing. Like, you can make the moments in life fun, but the midnight trip to the hospital when you haven't slept or something, or getting woken up, like, those moments aren't fun, but those are what really shows what you got inside.
Mhm.
And so when I fail on those moments, those are the moments where I'm like, is really that's what's deep inside me? And it just makes me question my own character, right? But I think everybody has a breaking point, and I try to give myself a break, but it's a real easy point for me to slip into self-loathing. I'm gonna
Awesome.
leave that there.
That was beautiful, man. Beautiful. I'll take that question
Dig
again.
it. Oh, you want me to give it to you?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A concrete recent example, or semi-recent example of you getting yourself into trouble, or getting in a place, you know,
Yeah.
where you don't want to be,
Yeah.
emotionally,
Yeah.
physically, mentally, whatever.
Yeah. So I'm getting into a relationship here. Um I'm actually somewhat engaged, if you will, right?
Whoa, Logan.
Yeah. It's one of those kind of
Hey,
like I
that's the
got,
first time you.
yeah,
Whoa, you
yeah,
never said that before.
bro.
Whoa.
Somewhat engaged. She's
Hey,
aware.
look,
She's aware
she's
of it.
aware. Well, so yeah. When I went to visit her, she got down on one knee and asked me to marry her, actually.
No
Woo!
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Very progressive here on the Recovery Podcast.
The gifts of recovery, guys.
Are
The
you
gifts of
taking her
recovery.
last name? Are you taking her last name?
Yeah, yeah, right. No, come on now. Come on now. But yeah, that's this thing. I guess women are doing it all across the globe where they're asking men to marry them. They're not waiting. They're not waiting for them to ask them. They're just coming
And
out and doing it.
my mother did that to my father. They've been married 55 years.
That's really cool, man. That's really, really cool. Like, her
Whoa.
Yeah.
best friend did it too. So it's just like it's a fad. It's a thing, everything comes back around. We'll have bell bottoms here eventually too, man. Bell
I
bottoms
still
will be
have
back
some
in
in my
style.
closet.
I bet you do. Bet you do. So that with that comes a lot of man, I gotta remain humble in everything I do when it comes to her. There's been a lot of instances where with her last her home group, Milan, her home group very well, and we've had issues with her in service and her man, I got to really tread lightly on this one. Um, I have my opinions. She has her opinions. I've got a little more clean time than she does. I just I'm a little over 3 years now. She's at a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. And she's doing great, man. She's doing amazing. And when I reference these issues, these little issues, these are not like huge issues. These are just things that come to my mind that, um, because we're talking about them, it's something that I reference. But they changed their home group, changed a couple of their rules, their group conscience changed, and they run their meetings a little different now. And And there were some really hairy times in there where I'm like, you know, almost telling her what to do. And I was reminded really quick, because I can't tell anybody what to do. I can't do her recovery for her. And that's where I was really tiptoeing on those lines of telling her how to run her recovery. When I came in here, she had her own recovery, and part of her recovery is and how strong she was with service in that home group. She was always in service. The way she handled herself in service was part of what attracted me to her originally. And so it really got to the point where it was really nasty between her and I. She actually doesn't do service in that home group anymore because of those issues, but it was through the dialogue that we had that it was coming out in ways that just didn't need to. Tom, I was saying things that I didn't mean to say in certain instances to get my way, and it was really wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. And she came to that conclusion of where I was trying to get her to go on her own, because I backed up, and I apologized. I was, I was humble enough to do that. And it helped her move forward with her decision, and it didn't take, and it was no manipulation from me. And she came to the decision on her own. I'm proud of her, man. I'm so proud of her. And it helped me grow in that situation too. I can't really say the exact situation it was, Tom, because I don't want to just throw shit out there with other people involved.
Sure.
But I'm proud of the girl, man, because she really took a stand against and I didn't think she was going to do this. And I'm really proud of the girl and love that girl very much. And but it humbled me. It humbled me. And now moving forward, I let it be. I let it be, man. I let her do her thing in terms of like service and her home group. I just don't put myself, I don't involve myself in it anymore. And it allows me to remain humble on that portion of it. But I got really, I got my you know, I got my humble pie thrown
Yeah.
at me in that one, man. And it was tough, but I learned, and I'm a better man because of it today. But you said that earlier. Humility is elusive, bro. That shit is elusive. A lot of times we don't really realize that we're not practicing humility until we get slapped in the face with some, like, you need to you need to come correct, young man. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like we don't know it till it slaps us right in the fucking face. And then we go, wow, I've been an asshole. What have I been thinking? So great question, Tom. I would love for you to answer your own question.
So what's the
So,
date, Andrew? What's the date?
We don't have
Oh,
a date. We don't have a
okay.
date yet. We don't have a
Okay.
date.
well, you'll have to let us all know.
I will let everybody know.
So first of all, before I launch into this, I wanted to draw attention to the fact that both of your answers, and these are the conversations I like to fucking have, by the way. Like,
Oh, you like the mess. He
let
likes
me
the mess.
hear about it. Let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those things are results of gifts given to us. The ability to help a family member, a sick family member, certainly being engaged. I know those, I don't have any of this shit without being sober, right? So life gets good. We get these things, and those things get tricky sometimes,
Oh,
Real
yeah.
tricky.
They are opportunities for us to practice these principles in all of our affairs, right? These are the gifts that we are given, and they're not always fucking super easy, things. We gotta deal with life. So mine is similar. Mine's along the same vein, in the sense that I just took a vacation with my family, which, without being sober, without recovery, I don't have a family. I'm certainly not taking vacations with them. And I have two sons, 8 and 5 are their ages. And when we go on vacation, it's a shit show often. It's just like we're a tornado, pulling through town. And we went hiking in some national parks in Utah, which was epic, epic. But we bookended this trip with a weekend each time in Las Vegas. And Vegas was cool. We did the shows, we did the thing, but Vegas is intense, right? hyper intense. And I like to go to meetings when I'm on vacation. I didn't this time. I was, so we did a weekend in Vegas and we did a week hiking and then we were back in Vegas. And this is a story about me getting squirrely, right? Like I've been sober long enough that I fucking know in my bones that I cannot take a drink or a drug without losing everything. Um, and so that's not an option for me, right? I'm not on the fence about that. But we were in Vegas on the back end of this trip after, you know, all the emotions that go with a trip, the highs, the lows, the busyness, the multiple plane flights, the car rentals, you know, it's a lot. And I went to a concert at the Sphere, which is like the new fucking thing that they have in Vegas, which is
I know
wild.
what it is. I've seen it.
Video screens.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I went to a concert that, you know, is a Grateful Dead concert or Dead and Company concert, the new iteration of the Grateful Dead. And, you know, there's a lot of drugs around, there's a lot of people partying. That doesn't bother me. I'm walking back to the hotel down the strip at midnight. There's hookers touching you. You know, that, you know, the tension is building, right?
Whispering drugs in your ear,
Yeah,
whispering
yeah,
drugs.
yeah. The intensity is building, and I get back to the hotel. And the next morning's Easter Sunday, and I'm down in the hotel. This is kind of a funny story. I'm down in the lobby of the hotel or of the casino, down on the casino floor, buying 7 a.m. buying coffee for my wife and I. And this guy comes up to me, normal looking dude, and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey man, you look like you like to party." And I was like, "Oh, you'd be surprised, actually, you know." And I was like, first of all, your instincts are good, you know, because you're right, I do look like that. And once upon a time, I was your guy, you know, I was your target market. And he's like, "Oh, so you don't want any blow, you know?" And I was like, "No, I don't want any blow today." Um, and I was like, you know, but I haven't done cocaine in like 12 years. You know, I've been sober for 7.5 years now. And he's like, "Wow, man, wow, keep doing the hard work, you know?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're doing the hard work, buddy. Like selling drugs Easter Sunday on a casino floor, that's the hard job."
Walking to a stranger.
To a stranger. That was it. That was the extent of the interaction. I went back upstairs, told my wife about it. And she was like, "Well, wow, that guy, I mean, if you were going to do it, it wouldn't be on Easter with your family upstairs." And I was like, "You have no fucking idea. You know, if I was going to do it, none of that would have mattered, right?
No.
Yeah.
Kids would sleep, fine, what I would have disappeared for 4 days, you know." My wife has not been privy to my full-on addiction, you know, like what it really means, you know. And when you have a conversation with normies, as they say, like to them, the shit we do is insane, right? And it is. To us, the shit they do or don't do is insane, right? Leaving half a glass of wine on the counter after dinner, I will never understand it. My wife could do it, you know, a million times. And I'm like, "Wow, I can't fucking believe she's just leaving booze sitting there." So yeah, we're crazy in their eyes, they're crazy in our eyes. It is what it is. But after this experience, I was in inner turmoil, right? It was just enough things piling on top of each other to get me spun up. Now, I mean, like I said, drinking and doing drugs aren't an option for me. So I was not at that point. I know if I let this feeling ride long enough, then drinking and doing drugs do become a very real option for me. So I'm spinning, not necessarily outwardly, but internally. And my wife can see it. And, you know, I'm frustrated. It's the last day of the trip. I'm getting pissed at the kids. You know, I'm not right. And she was like, "You need to go to a meeting." And I was like, this is how fucking sick I was at that point. I was like, "What's a meeting going to do for me?" I'm still going to be in Vegas. We're still going to be on vacation. Like, what's a meeting going to help? That's how I get when I get super sick. And she's like, I don't care. Get out of here. Go get in a taxi. Go find a meeting. So I did. And it was one of those experiences where the minute I walked in the door, and this happens sometimes, the minute I walked in the door, it was like, poof, like all the angst, all the intensity just evaporated. And if you're ever in Vegas, this is the second time I've been to a meeting there. The Vegas AA is rad, man. It's gritty, as you would imagine, right? Like it is everything all rolled up into one. And the meeting was awesome. I fucking loved it. And I went back to the hotel and we had a wonderful end of the vacation, And the reason that I was thinking about this question for you guys and the reason that I'm answering it this way is because I can operate under the feeling that life is good and things are good and drinking or drugs aren't part of that scenario, and thank goodness, and I'm so grateful for that. But before I know it, if I'm not really looking at how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, how honest I'm being, those sorts of things. If I'm not really focused on that, before I know it, shit goes sideways. And I find myself in a tricky spot. That used to be 24 hours, 2 days, now that time gets a little bit longer, right? I can do a 10-day trip with my family and shit can be stressful and crazy and all the things. And I don't notice it until the last day. And one thing sparks me, or a number of things in this case, get me worked up enough that I get off kilter. And when I get off kilter, the people that are affected by it, other than myself, I'm obviously very affected by it, are the people that are closest to me, my family. Like, I'm not an asshole to random people on the street, I don't go to that place, but I do take it out on the people that are around me most often. And that sucks. That is not something that I want to be. So, it's again, it's this idea, the humility gets lost, right? I lose that sense of being right-sized. I become something else, whether it's, oh, poor me, look at all this stuff I have to do for my family and they don't appreciate me enough. And who do you think's paying for this trip? And who do you think's organizing all these things and blah, blah, blah. My kids don't even care and da, 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 like all this bullshit. I can go to that place. Or I can go to wow, look at me, man. I'm in fucking Vegas and I don't need to drink and I don't need to do drugs and I can play a couple hands of blackjack and look like, wow, tapping into that energy, without falling into the nonsense that I used to fall into. Because I've gone to that town, I've gone to any town and just gone absolutely insane and like lost all my shit and missed my flight and done really crazy, like very, very shameful stuff. And now I go back and I don't need to do it, but there's this feeling of like, wow, look at me, I'm doing so good. You know what I mean? I'm in such a good spot. And it was a real wake-up call. It was a real humbling experience for me, to get in a position of discomfort, like heavy discomfort, where I was like, wow, man, I am not fixed. I am not okay. I don't need to be hanging out in this place any longer than I have to, because I am still vulnerable, and I am human and I'm an addict and I need to understand that and respect that all the fucking time until the day I die. So it was ultimately, like in retrospect, it was a wonderful experience because You know, I got what I needed. And what I needed was a reminder that I am not okay all the time unless I do the shit that I know I need to do. And the way I know I need to do it is because people like you told me. I didn't figure this out myself. And when I go and listen to another alcoholic talk about their life, I immediately get out of my own head and realize that I'm not great, I'm not terrible, I'm right where I fucking need to be, and it's with you people. And it was a beautiful reminder of that.
Beautiful answer, man.
I love that. That was great. You know, you'll book the meeting next time.
Totally, man.
Hell
Totally.
yeah. Hell yeah.
And like I was saying, I've taken trips at points in my sobriety where prior to leaving, I know where the meetings are. And sometimes I'll contact somebody before the meetings, right? That I've done that. And as the years have ticked by, you know, that's not become something that I regularly do. If it's a small town like Sayulita and the meetings are walkable and I can just shoot over there, that's a different story. But when I'm in a big city and I've got a lot of shit to do and a family to corral and whatever, like it doesn't become a priority, you know, and it should be. And thankfully I've done it enough, and I've had enough experience with you know, how easy it is to access support that, you know, between the time my wife said you need to go to a meeting, I was in a meeting 30 minutes later, right? Like that's how accessible AA is. And that's how, you know, with a little bit of effort, you're there. Poof, you know, there's the solution and you're all set. Like that was the beauty of it.
And
It's
how lucky you are that you have a partner who understands what you need.
Yeah.
yeah.
Instead
And it's
of
cool.
resenting you for that, she's like, here's the solution, go do it.
Yeah, that is not at all lost on me, you know,
Yeah.
that and you know, everybody benefits from me coming down.
Oh,
And
You
then
know
we're
what I mean?
and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
all sitting on this podcast, and it gives you an ability in a spot to like recognize that, hey, I've gone a couple trips and not done this. Right now, you're thinking it gets you thinking on, hey, maybe the next time I go, I might look into that meeting before I go, just because
Totally.
I don't want to get complacent. Right? We start
Well,
thinking we got this thing figured out.
I've got a trip coming up at the end of or at the beginning of June in about a month to Chicago, which is where I'm from. So I know a lot of people there, and actually that's where I got sober. And I'm going down to see some concerts of a band that I like to see that has a very heavy duty drug scene, you know, attached to it. One that I used to be part of.
Yeah.
And I know that I need to make time for a meeting. If I'm going to go,
Insurance.
if I'm going to
Insurance.
go into that environment, which I have been in sober and I like it because, you know, the reason I'm there is for the music and not the drugs, and I'm able to do it. And that's a beautiful thing. It took me a long fucking time to be able to feel comfortable to go back into that situation. But I know that if I'm going to go see a show at night and put myself in that environment, I need to go to a meeting in the morning, you know, the morning before, you know, bookend it with a meeting, right? I know that because I'm not invincible, man. I'm not. None of us are. And the moment we start feeling that way, and the moment we forget that one drink, you know, 1 second, one decision changes the whole game, you
It's like
know?
pulling a gun, loaded gun to your head, man.
Totally. And I don't want to live a life where I'm afraid to do shit, right? I don't want to live a life where I don't feel comfortable being in environments that, you know, that I want to be in. And you know, I don't want to be at bars at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not talking about shit like that. That's not my deal.
Yeah.
My first sponsor was a DJ. He was like a nightclub DJ, and he was DJing fucking shows at like 3 a.m. in clubs. And I was like, how do you do this, man? He's like, hey, bro, it's what I love to do, So I need to figure out a way to allow myself to do what I love to do, regardless of what the other people there are doing.
Yeah.
That's not my concern.
Yeah.
So I took that as like, all right, like there are things in this world that I like to do. Shit, I like living in Mexico. People are drinking fucking a bucket of Coronas down the street, all day,
Mm.
right? I love living here. There's lots of fucking drinking. What am I gonna do? You know what I mean? I'm not gonna move. So how do I give myself the security or the
Peace.
armor to be able to like walk through that stuff without it affecting me. And when I'm right, when I'm in the spot that I need to be in, I can be here, I can be at, you know, music shows where people are super fucked up. I can be any of those places. And that's like one of the promises of AA that I was like, I don't really know if I believe that. Like being placed in a position of neutrality, that is true. I can walk through these environments and it does not fucking affect me one
It's one of
bit.
your superpowers, man.
Or if I'm not, I can walk into those environments and I'm immediately uncomfortable and I'm immediately fighting and I'm immediately looking for a way out. Or I'm loaded. You know what I mean? Those are the two other options. And it's very clear to me when I'm in a good place. Like I can be in a good place watching some live music. Um, and the feeling that I get, like every once in a while it dawns on me, it's like, holy shit, man, I don't even care about booze or drugs at all. I am having a blast. And that's a high, a whole nother high, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's a total trip. So
Love that.
yeah, that's what I got there.
Nice, man. That was beautiful. That's dope.
Okie dokie, Andrew. True humility is found not in silence or shame, but in the courage to say, I still have more to learn. Where in your life is humility inviting you to become a student again?
Oh man, well, I just told y'all I just got engaged, so there's a lot of things. I'm being a student of a student of a student, man. I don't know anything that's going on with this thing. I have no idea. So I'm just letting this thing ride, But I'm working a program. You know what I mean? I'm 3 years clean. I got a sponsor that I talk to a lot. I got a good group of friends and a good support network that support me in this endeavor, man. And I can talk to them about it. Um, but I got it, it's scary. It's fucking scary, man. I don't know, I don't know, there's a long distance thing going on here that we're having to come to terms with and that we're having to figure out the moving part of it. I just don't, the uncertainty of the future for me is a little hairy for me, man. But I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? I'm happy. I'm happy. I feel like I'm living a balanced life. Um I'm always humble and always teachable in every situation, Milan. The whole 3 years thing just passed. I was really humbled by that situation, and that was a really, really good get together that we had, man. You were there. I'm so glad. Thank you for coming too. Thank you so much for being there, man. It meant a lot for me for you to
Dude,
be there.
there's a lineup of people who love you, man. It was great. Seeing your mom on there too. I was like, woo, shout out to mama.
Bro, my mom, and it just, I mean, I was tearing up the whole time, Tom. I was a mess. I was a mess. But I've really come, man. I've gotten everything I want in my life, man. I've been 3 years clean, and I've got a girl that just got on her hands and knees and asked me to marry her. I've got a family waiting for me, right? And it's because I've remained so humble, man. I've had to be so humble because I don't know. I didn't know anything when I got here, man. I had no fucking clue what was going on here. And y'all taught me how to do this thing. And you talked about honest sharing. When you go to a meeting, as soon as you get to a meeting, you start feeling better. You start feeling better immediately. I wake up a lot and I still get that uneasy feeling. I feel like I'm still a drug addict. I forget that I'm in recovery. I'll just wake up, and then because I've been a drug addict for so long, I'll forget that I'm in active recovery. And it's almost like my brain takes a couple of seconds to compute that, like, hey man, you're working a program, you're in recovery. And then I quickly switch over to that grateful spot where I'm like, hey man, I'm reaching for my phone or my tablet so I can get into a meeting. just hear some kind of fellowship or hear the readings, even just the readings, man, the 5 or 6 readings that we read at the beginning of every meeting, man, is that gets me back into my lane. But acknowledging my limitations and embracing the need for support when I first got here was everything. When I got here, I was trying to complicate my way out before I even got into the rooms. I thought y'all used too much. I thought I didn't use enough. It was back and forth on like why are y'all asking me to come back? I don't need to come back. I don't want to be here. I don't like this. And it's changed to a lifestyle for me. You know, this is a commitment that I made for the rest of my life, man. And I know if I want to stay clean for the rest of my life, man, I got people that, you know, my sponsor is 36 years clean, comes to our meetings almost every night. Like I know if I want to stay clean the rest of my life, I'm in the right place. And there's people around me that can help me do it. And a lot of times I'll get focused on a problem and I'll let it take me out for a day or two, right? But then I realized that like a lot of times the problem isn't even the problem, Tom. It's that overthinking of that problem that I'm doing that gets me out of my head, man. Because I'll overthink a problem to death, regardless of what it is, man. Regardless of what it is, and and it's almost like one of those things where I used to be a super procrastinator, and I was the procrastinator of procrastination. And I think that in my as I'm getting clean and things that's kind of like that master procrastinator kind of coming out in a new way where I just kind of try to differentiate my way out. But yeah, man, that was a great question, Milan. I'll pass that to Tom. I'm good.
The prince of procrastination across the
Yeah, that's me.
nation.
That's me, man. That's me all day.
Okay, Tom, true humility is found not in silence or shame, but in the courage to say, I will have more to, or I still have more to learn. Where in your life is humility inviting you to become a student again?
Hmm. Well, the easy answer is in my relationships with other human beings. I have I can operate real nice on my own. Um, I don't have, emotions and feelings that I don't like when I'm by myself. I like it. It's easy for me. But when you throw other people into the mix, I realize that maybe I'm not who I want to be all the time. Um, I wish I was a little more open in my relationship with my family members, for sure, mostly my wife. Um, and I could tap into, a little bit more of deeper emotions. I struggle with that at times, and I wish that I could give her what she wants. Um, when for whatever reason, and I'm learning more and more reasons why that's difficult for me. Uh, you know, it's not a good feeling to know that you're not, you know, taking care of your wife emotionally the way that she needs to be taken care of. And that to me hurts. And my initial response is, well, you want this, it's all about what you're asking too much, all this bullshit, right? But when I really sit with it, it's like, wow, I'm not doing what I said I would do in my wedding vows. I am not stepping up to the plate and giving her what she needs. Because of my own bullshit, and I don't even fucking recognize it. I'm not like sitting here thinking, oh, I'm not going to treat my wife the way that she needs to be treated. It's not that. I'm trying, but I'm failing in some respects. And that is really forcing me to take a look at what I need to do and what I need to change. And it's really hard. It's hard knowing that I need to do that. And it's also hard figuring out exactly what I need to do, frankly. That's the easy answer. The other one that came up to me, and this is also humbling, is I need to shift gears in my business, in my work life. Um, you know, things down here financially have been really great. I build houses and build houses for, North Americans coming down here, Americans, Canadians, and things in the world are uncertain at this time in financial markets and whatever, all the bullshit. We don't need to get into that, but there's less people willing to come down here and throw money around to build a house. So my business is affected, and it's taken me some humbling. It went from worry, right? It went from, uh-oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? Da da da, all that bullshit. Well, it's not bullshit. There's real life concerns, but it went from that to, you know, problem solving, right? To, I got to trust the process. I got to trust my higher power. I got to do this, that, and the other thing. And then it's kind of evolved into this, okay, I'm in this place. This is the reality of it. How can I ask for help? How can I shift gears to incorporate maybe some more strategies to generate revenue? Not to turn this into like a business talk, but these are very real, like life situations for me that are unfolding, that I'm able to use things that I have learned in a program like Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, I can ask other people for help. Hey, how did you solve this issue when you faced it? And how do I evolve into something a little bit different to become better at, whatever it is I want to do? That's hard, right? For me. What's easy for me is getting mad. What's easy for me is blaming somebody else. What's easy for me is quitting and wanting to just say, fuck it, I'm going to move and do something different. And we're just, this isn't working. That's my knee-jerk reaction. And that, frankly, has been my reaction to things for as long as I can remember, or self-pity, right? Oh, not good enough, or, oh, they must not like me, or this, that, and the other thing. But I'm not sitting in that, right? I'm sitting in okay, here's reality, acceptance, right? Accepting that this is the situation I'm facing, whether it be financial or otherwise, right? Can't fight reality. Then, okay, well, do I trust my higher power? Yes, I do. Have I always been okay? Yes, I have. Regardless of, the situation, things have always worked out in one way, shape, or form, so there's that. I have multiple past examples of being taken care of by something greater than myself. So there's that's great. Now I know that. Now I've got to fucking accept that. I've got to live in that space. But I can't just sit here and not, take any action. So, like, what's the action that I can take, and what's the proper action? Like, what's the humble response to a situation that I, on surface don't find to be ideal? And that is, asking other people in positions that I, look to and respect and emulate to some degree of, hey, what should I do here? What do you think I should do here? Like, I got to shift gears. I got to figure something out. So, like, what would your recommendation be? Or how could you help me develop something out? Like, whatever it is. And asking those questions and putting myself in those positions is not comfortable. I don't like it. I want people to think that I have everything sorted out and I am all fucking set. And boy, that Tom guy, he really seems to have all the answers. That's what my ego tells me that I want. And in reality, that's far from the truth. And in reality, that's far from the truth for everybody else too. You know what I mean? When somebody asks me for help, that it's so strange because when we are asked for help, we never think, oh, look at this loser. You know what I mean? We think,
Yeah.
oh, wow,
That's a great
somebody's
point.
asking me for help.
That's a great
Like,
point.
that's wonderful. Sure, I'm going to help them. Like that immediately is our response. But when we're the ones asking for help, we don't want to be that person because we think so-and-so is going to think, wow, what a loser. But it's never the case. It's a bizarre way to look at things, but it's how I do it, you know? So when I can humble myself enough to put myself in the position of somebody that needs something, that needs help, not only do I get it, you know, inevitably the person that I reach out to is going to help me because I've surrounded myself with those types of people in my life. But I feel I'm put back in a place of humility and I feel better about myself. I don't have an inflated sense of self. I don't have this image that I'm trying to put out that's not really true, right? It's honest. It's the type of person that I'm trying to be. And ultimately it feels good once I get past the discomfort and the nonsense, which is just that. It's fucking nonsense. It's not real. Then, you know, then I reap the rewards.
I love that.
Love that, man.
Okay, true humility is found not in silence or shame, but the courage to say, I still have more to learn. Where in my life is humility inviting me to become a student again? Well, my immediate response, and I'm not going to hit that first, I just wanted to address a couple things like you were saying, you know, like I feel that when I can put down that ego of trying to be that puppeteer on everything, you know, it makes the people around me feel much more accepted as well. You know, like trying to control or even project that false sense of awesomeness. You know, you're trying to control their brains instead of maybe their actions, but it quite often doesn't give people the chance to really be themselves around you, you know, and because you're literally trying to control their reactions, and I found just for myself in step work recently that you know, that's probably much more damaging than I ever thought it was, and it's something that I'm really trying to be conscious of now. And you know, man, you make some points, Tom, where I'm like, I just want to share on Tom's share.
I was thinking the same thing. I got like bullet points I want to hit on that he's pointing out.
You know, and like even when you were talking about, you know, your disappointment in yourself for not delivering who your wife needs, man, like that happens all the time. And I feel that one. I really, really feel that one. Like I'm like, man, you know, maybe she needs a better person than me. Like those kind of thoughts hit my brain,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, you know, because I can see, I can see what she needs sometimes, and I'm not stepping to that plate on moments, you know, especially the hard moments. And anyway, yeah, I just really loved what you said there, Tom. You know, I feel for myself, you know, with this question. I think that the biggest thing for me you know, for where humility is inviting me to be a student again is in the surrender of my life. Like it really, you coming on that podcast just cascaded these like series of conversations with my sponsor, with people at meetings, people at my first roundup I went to. Like my conversations and dialogue about surrender has gone really deep, and then that's kind of pulled myself into a different place of how I was praying. And and inside that is like this bringing gratitude into everything. And so even, you know, praying that I'm grateful for the things that I'm not experiencing. You know, like because there's always a sliver of it that we are. And and having and trying to so it's like, you know, right now just seeing that there was a lot of things in my life that I wasn't bringing gratitude for that I should have been because I was experiencing some level of coping skills in anxious moments. There was some stepping away when I was angry. You know, there was a bunch of things that I was just like, oh, I'm angry, I'm fucking stressed. Like it was like, where it's like really, fuck, man. Some of the things I was going through were some real major things. Even my sponsor said to me, he's like, man, he's like, I'm not sure if I wouldn't be crazy if I was you trying to cope with that. He's like, so you're actually getting a whole bunch of coping right now from your higher power that you're not giving thanks for. Why does anybody want to give more to somebody who's not even thankful for what they have? You know, like I do believe that, you know, there's a pretty close link for me between affirmations and prayer. Like really, there's a really close link between those two things, and part of it for me is replacing that dialogue in my brain. If I can get the shitty, itchy bitchy twitchy part of my thoughts and fill them with gratitude thoughts, and not like push the other ones away, but just like if I'm going to input something, try to make it grateful, try to make it grateful, try to make it grateful, because then those thoughts start to be the norm. And it's just something that has like really had a miraculous effect on my life the last month and a half. Because I think it's been about a month and a half since we saw you, Tom? Something like that.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, yeah. So for me, it's my surrender, it's my prayer, it's my outlook on gratitude as an everyday thing. Like just trying to actually find the gratitude even in like even in the things where that used to be just the source of anxiousness. It changes my day. I'm going to leave that there. You want to come in with a question for Tommy, Andrew?
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Tom. So, how do you tell the difference between humility and low self worth?
Oh, hmm. Humility and low self-worth. Well, I think oftentimes humility gets a bad rap. Like it's viewed as only one side of the coin is not thinking much of yourself. You mentioned that it's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less, right? And for as I said, the easiest way for me to fall out of humility, at least visibly, or something that I can recognize quickly, is having an inflated sense of self. That to me is the easiest way. So when I am, in a low spot, it's harder for me to recognize, and it often takes much, much longer. I'm often operating on, um, I'm often just going along through my life without noticing it. When I'm feeling low. So it's not as easy for me to tap into. It takes longer. Um, and this is a great question because I feel normal, just like I do when I'm feeling uh when I'm in a sense of humility, I'm much more calm internally. And I recognize that when I feel it. I don't necessarily recognize the lack of it initially.
Good point.
I'm I'm cruising along, doing my thing, going through my day, seemingly like everything's all right. To me. It takes some time, or oftentimes it's pointed out to me. My kids have gotten really good at pointing it out to me. Like I check out, right? Emotionally, mentally, I check out. I'm not present, and when I'm not present, oftentimes I'm spinning in some bullshit that I've done, that I can't do, that I, uh, am worried about, that I'm down on myself about, like that's when I'm spinning. When things are good, I don't check out. I don't have that like disconnect from the present moment. When I'm humble, I'm in the present moment. I'm enjoying what's going on in my life, and I'm not fucking worried about what may or may not happen in the future or what isn't happening the way that I want it to happen. It's when I'm spinning in this cycle of, okay, I need to do this. And if I don't do this, the world's going to end. Or I got to figure out another way to do this, and I can go down that rabbit hole for hours on end, days on end, really. I can live in that. And it's eventually gets unbearable and it gets super duper painful. And I have to like redirect and come back to a place of surrender. Milan, like you were just talking about, like that is the key, the surrender, and that ultimately leads to a place of humility. But I don't recognize it as quickly as I would like to. I recognize it eventually when the pain gets too bad. When the pain gets too intense, then I realize that something's going on. I will say this though, I have gotten better about it. And that's the goal here, right? Progress, not perfection, right? We are never, I feel, although it would be lovely, I will never just be in this state of serenity permanently. That seems to me like the most alien concept I could imagine, like being able to remain in that place. But my goal is to shorten the time frame from when I start to spin to the pain gets too intense that I need to figure out a way to make it better. And it has gotten shorter. I lived 33 years of my life spinning, right? But the amount of time between, I'm in a place of low self-worth, and I'm ruminating on that, and I'm acting or thinking about ways that how do I change that? How do I'm not talking about like positive ways, recovery. I'm thinking about solving the problem, the little actual problem that is making me feel a certain way. And that's not the fix, right? I'm never going to solve all my problems to make myself feel good enough. There's always going to be something else that I need to fix. You're never going to be able to, you're always going to be behind the eight ball. If you keep trying to fix your problems to make yourself feel better, that's something I've learned. It's about fixing the way that I look at the world. It's about understanding that I don't have the answers. It's about accepting the world for the way that it is, or any situation that comes up for the way that it is. And when I can do that, then I have a shot of, it's not about making everything okay, right? It's about understanding that everything already is okay. So that, I don't know if that answered your question.
Hell yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Bro, in a beautiful way, And look, a runner from our problems, Tom, is a race we will not win. That is a race we will not win, bro.
And I also think that fixing our problems is an impossible.
Yeah.
That I was going to kind of mention that. I didn't know how to word that, but you're absolutely right. Fixing all of our problems is not going to work either.
When I get this, then I'll be okay. Or when I change this situation that I find to be unpleasant, then my life is going to be okay. No. There's always going to be another fucking thing to fix, right? There's always going to be another thing to change. So I can never be successful with that. It has to be an internal switch that I make a change, and then, I look at the world through different colored glasses. That's it.
It says in our It Works How and Why, like our goal is to strive to be okay. Like we're going to be okay with or without that car, with or without that job, with or without the money, with or without the shoes, with or without anything. We're going to be okay. Totally. Right. So yeah, great. You answered it perfectly. All right, Milan, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, brother. How do you feel? How do you tell the difference between humility and low self-worth? And explain that.
Okay, I got lost in Tommy's answer
I
there, and
did
that
too.
was like I was like totally off in another plane, and
I
now
saw
coming
you.
back to this guy, I was like
Come back.
fully
Come on back.
engrossed.
Come on back. Come on
Yeah.
back.
So, okay, one more time. Say the
All
question
right.
one more
Yep.
time.
Yep. So how do you, Milan, tell the difference between humility and low self-worth today? And explain that.
Ooh, you know, I come in to see that this program, like obviously, as Tom pointed out the last time, is that it's a program of surrender, but it's almost entirely about us and service. Like the greatest way to surrender yourself is to be in service for somebody else in some ways that I'm seeing, and so, like low self-esteem, I am just at the opposite of pride. I'm just thinking about myself. I'm like, welcome to my pity party. Come to my problems. Whereas, if I was just listening to this 11th step meditation before I came on, and it kind of just has this beautiful lady's voice that takes you through that part of the big book, the AA book, like when we arise in the morning and all that, and it's going through that. But, it's about kind of looking at how we can be of service in the day, like how we can take ourselves, and I'm not saying that I rise and do this, but what I'm starting to see is that when I do that, when I step back and say, how can I be as helpful as I can to other people, then I'm definitely not sitting in my self-pity. Like I was really tired this morning, semi almost spirally, in not in a horrible way, but just like not finding my center this morning. And and I came in from, like, I did a couple big walks and stuff. That's my thing these days. Um and I came in from my big one and I'm all huffy puffy, and I was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and then it's the podcast. Like I had my little routine, and my father-in-law sitting there, and he's just like, "Hey man, is it okay? Like, can I go in and shower now?" Because he's on enough medication that unsupervised activities are not happening, and and I was just like, man, this means a lot more to him right now than me doing my little thing, like me staying on my schedule. Like, I'm like, okay, I can flip this around and still be available here for him right
Mm-hmm.
now. And, I wouldn't have had the humility to stop and think of myself not as important before. I would have been like, oh, fuck it, poor me. I got to stay to my schedule. Poor me. Like, he's interfering with what I'm trying to get done here. Poor me. Like, I would have literally thrown a pity party, probably been pissed off before. And it's just, and I think that, that's really one of the benefits of this program is that, when we can have, I don't know, what I call, like, for me, I call that a moral victory. Like, where I used to fail every moral contest.
Hmm.
It was
You
like,
have goodwill. You
it
have
was
goodwill
like, it
today.
was like, give me opportunity to lie, to covet thy neighbor's wife, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was like in line for everything. And then it was like and when I'm like, oh, whoa, I could be of service right now. If I can recognize something as the opportunity for service, then I try to step back and do it right now, because I know that for sure I'm probably on the right path. And if I'm just like going for the best for Milan, I'm probably not. I'm gonna leave that there because that's kind of
That's
all I
beautiful,
got in
man.
my brain today.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, the opposite of our disease is connection, is community, right? We're trying to find that. We're trying to tap into that because when we were using, man, we were just we were isolated, man. We were isolated. Now we're connected. We're staying connected and staying into that community. And being of service gets us out of our own head, man. You want to get out of your own head, go do something nice for somebody. So how do I tell the difference between humility and low self-worth? I mean, that was huge. And Tom, I want to hit on something that you made me realize. And I was actually thinking about this before I was brainstorming on the way in here, and I didn't write this down, but you made me think about it. I think about when I go to ask somebody for help, and this plays to your point. When you go to ask I'll keep it on me. When I would go to ask somebody for help, it does seem like a sign of weakness, like I'm bothering that person. Like why would they take the time out of their day to try to visit something that I am having a problem with? But then when you're the person that gets asked the one for help, right? When somebody comes and asks you for help, the feeling is not anything like what you thinking that person's going to think about when you're asking them for help, right? You actually, when someone asks you for help, you look at it like you trust that person because they trusted you enough to come ask them for help, right? It builds a relationship with that person. You don't look down on that person. I've never once had somebody come ask me for help, me look down on that person, even when I was like all twirled up right in my head, and it's crazy. It's crazy that we don't do it more naturally, because it really does help. Like whoever asks you for help, you first off, that's your soft welcome. Like if you never met that person, now you know them, and then they're asking you for help, so it builds trust immediately because, hey, that person trusted me enough to walk up to me and ask me for help. Now I'm going to put trust in them to take what I say and go help themselves. And it's a beautiful thing that going into it, we want to think it's going to be a bad thing. I don't know why we do. So you have that. I thought putting myself down early on in recovery was being humble, putting myself down, but I would find myself apologizing too much, or saying that I wasn't good enough, or whatever it is. And that's not humility. Humility is really, really, really a strong thing. It's elusive, Tom, like you said. It's very, very elusive. Low self-worth says I'm nothing, right? I'm nothing. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of recovery. And what humility says is, I'm human. I'm just human. I made mistakes, but I can grow from them. The fact that I'm making mistakes means I'm trying a new way to live. I'm not trying to do anything new if I'm not making mistakes. And then in turn, when I make my mistakes, I can learn from them and not put myself down and go back into this rabbit hole and go hide because I'm not good enough. Like, I can learn from it. I can get new tools to be able to navigate around it and be a better man because of it. Maybe teach somebody how to do it down the line, which keeps me going in that upward trajectory. That humble, that, body and rest stays at rest, body and motion stays in motion. So when I'm hitting all these points and I'm constantly going upwards, man, I can stay more humble, and I can understand that it's not the whole self-worth thing, building self-esteem. This has been my new tidal wave that I've come on lately, man. I'm not into building self-esteem anymore. And I'm trying to play this on words. Like, I'm building self-acceptance today. If I can build self-acceptance and accept who I am, I'm not fragile, right? If I'm trying to build self-esteem, I'm trying to do these esteemable things, right? Like if you want self-esteem, do esteemable things. I've heard that before, and that makes sense. But like, if I'm building self-esteem, there's going to be some pros and cons with the outcomes in those things, right? When I'm building self-acceptance, there's no pros and cons. It's all good. It's all, I'm not fragile. If I'm building self-esteem, I'm fragile. If I'm building self-acceptance, I'm strong. I'm secure. There's not a mixed bag of answers with that one. I hope that makes sense. Building self-acceptance, there's a lot of strength in that, and you could really come off on the wrong end of it when you're building self-esteem, because it doesn't work out every time. In self-esteem, you're trying to build those things, and you're trying to you're trying to differentiate yourself with yourself almost. You're kind of in your head. But when you're building self-acceptance, like, bro, that's who I am. I'm that person. So I don't even know if I answered my question. I think I did kind of.
I think you did wonderfully.
Yeah. It makes me take responsibility without carrying that shame.
You know what I like about this is it doesn't matter if we answer the question.
It never does. It never does. Yeah. No, like, in fact, most of the time, the best answers have nothing fucking to do with the question. It's all what it inspires you to think.
Facts.
Yeah. Okay, so we're down to 15 minutes left, and so we're going to do what we've started to do. Tom, you're going to like this, called the lightning round. We got 1 minute timer. So you ask, whoa, who did that?
I didn't. That's you.
Oh, okay. I was like, what is that? Look at, I'm like, we got a timer.
I thought you had timer music made. I'm like, oh, he's got timer music made.
Oh, that was so funny.
That was God's work, man.
Oh yeah. Now I lost. Okay, so Tom, you asked me a question. I got 1
Yes.
minute on the timer. We're gonna go until the time's up, and then wave goodbye.
Okay, what's one nice thing you're gonna go do for somebody today, Milan?
One nice thing I'm gonna go do for somebody today. I'm gonna go to my noon meeting from here and help the lady set up.
Hell yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't even need to start the timer for that one. I
Yep.
knew.
My answer is I'm gonna cut my mother's grass today. I'm gonna go over there and cut my mother's grass, edge everything up, get it nice and round. I'm gonna do that for her because she's an amazing woman. I love that girl, that lady so much. What about you, Tom?
Tom.
Well, mine's a little bit convoluted. I'm gonna go have lunch with a guy in a half an hour who's a new guy to the meeting down here, and
Service.
he was talking about having me build him a house, and we were all stoked on it. And then he just found another house to buy, which means no business for me. And I have some thoughts about his house that he wants to buy, and he's all excited about it. And I'm not even going to share my fucking thoughts with him. I'm going to go and get him stoked, and he's going to be happy, and he's going to buy a house. And I'm not going to have any ulterior motives. And I'm just going to pump this new dude up and get him stoked to move to Mexico and, yeah, support him.
Bro, I love you, Tom. I
I
love you,
love
man.
that.
Bro, that was beautiful, man. I love you, man.
Okie
All right,
dokie.
Milan.
Okay. In humility, we see others not as threats or comparisons, but as fellow travelers with sacred stories of their own. How has humility helped you connect more authentically with others in the program, Andrew?
Wow. Yeah. So again, I hit on this earlier. It's not thinking of less of myself. It's thinking of myself less. And then with the step one, man, admitting I'm powerless, it allows me to build new relationships, man. The humility is really, you need that for step one, Milan. I wanted to hit on that too, because you hit on that earlier. And step five too, admitting our wrongs, being humbling is freeing, admitting our wrongs in step five. But yeah, humility is everything. I got the super circle full of love and humility. That's all I need, man. As long as I'm staying humble, I can be honest, I can be willing, I can have personal growth and balance myself out a little bit with self-awareness. So I love you, man. That's it.
Okie
Spiritual
dokie.
growth.
Okay, where are we? Oh, how has humility helped you connect more authentically with others in the program, Tom?
Oh, like I said, humility is the most attractive characteristic to me. And I believe that it is the same for many other people. And, I have the most connection with other alcoholics, or I receive the most input from other alcoholics when I share my struggles, not when I talk about how good shit is. Um, in fact, when I relapsed 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago, and when I came back in, broken, struggling, help me, super humble. By far, I got the most. Hey man, that really helped me out. What you said really helped me out. The most connection from those times, far more than when things are good.
Beautiful,
Boom.
beautiful. All right,
Okay,
you. Yep.
how has humility helped me connect more authentically with others in the program? I think it really showed me, first of all, through my step work, what I was doing wrong that was like hurtful for others that I was not seeing in my delusions. And, and I think humility has made me try to be more supportive to people around me versus being in that controlling state or in that critical state, really. And I don't think that without humility I would have been able to admit all the damage that I was doing inside addiction, but also just inside relationships in general. Like it was really an eye opener for me to hit that step 4 and see all that. Okay, boom. Andrew,
All
ask
right.
Tommy.
Yep. All right, Tom, you ready? So how do you practice humility, not just talk about it today?
Ooh, how do I practice? Well, shit. I'm gonna do the things that I'm telling you guys I'm gonna do, right? I would like to say I have to do better with my family. You know, I can sit here and talk a big game as much as I want. But when the rubber hits the road, like my family are the people that I interact with most. I can be great with acquaintances. I can even be great with people in the program. You know, I'm happy to help. I'm easy, whatever. It's when nobody's watching, when I'm in my house with my family, like how do I connect with them? How do I remain present? And I'll tell you this, I'm gonna put away my fucking phone today when I'm hanging out with them.
There you go. I love that. I
Boom.
love that. I love that. All right, Milan, how do you practice humility, not just talk about it today?
Oof, man, this one I thought the first time anyone stomped Tom, by the way, that I like that. But you know what? It's honestly, it starts in my prayers in the morning. When I'm out, I do a walk with family and the dogs, and then I do another bigger walk by myself these days. And when I go out on that walk is where I'm actually doing my praying, and I'm literally, saying the things that that I need help with, and
Mm.
and that I'm grateful that I'm getting the help with, and that's really for me. That's like, and I'm doing it out loud, which is a really cool thing. I never felt comfortable praying out loud in my house, but I sure do in nature. And saying it out loud and feeling that connection is a real big step for me.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. All right. So how do I practice humility, not just talk about it? Y'all all said great things. I listen more than I speak today, man. Believe it or not, being able to listen um, is a gift, and being able to listen and take in those things, and it allows me to practice humility in real time. You know, I can kind of hear people's suggestions. They say honest sharing is the antidote to our disease thinking. So we come on here and we come into these meetings and we share about what is going on with us, and it allows me to build humility by taking the suggestion without even having to go up and ask them for it. Humility is not, and I have this right now. Humility is not something we arrive at. It's something we keep growing into. We're always going to grow into humility, and if as long as we're able to be willing to grow, we can always stay humble, right? And if we get off track, like you said earlier, Tom, I just got to kind of nudge myself back into that lane, man. When I feel myself getting off track, I'm working a program, and I'm gonna have these little things that are gonna nudge me right back onto the track of humility and where I want to be. So that's my answer.
Boom. Okay, Tom, question for me.
I don't have a question for you, but I
Oh,
have a response to what you said,
okay.
Milan. There are acts built into the AA program, like hitting your knees and praying to a higher power that build in that cause us to become humble, right? And people say, get on your knees. Well, what does that fucking matter? Why can't I? And by the way, I pray in all different ways, walking, singing, laying down, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the act of getting on your knees is to me the like switch of like now I'm humbling myself, right, to a higher power. Like as much as like I like to live in the place of like this relationship with a higher power and we're friends and we're blah blah blah, like that's not what works for me, right? Like I need to bring myself down a notch and answers, right? Definitely not all of them. And when I get on my knees and start a prayer that way, it very much is like like, okay, now I've let out my breath. I'm calm. I'm centering. I'm calm. I am not. Like I said, I don't have the answers, and but God does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I need help,
Yeah.
right? That to me is like the most powerful act that I can make to humble myself. And inevitably I feel better every
Yeah.
fucking time. Every time I feel better. I might not have the answer. It might not solve my problem, but I feel better,
But
and
but you're
that
tapping into who does. You're tapping into who does though.
exactly. And that is the ticket.
That's what I would say is like, I don't have all the answers. You're going to come to me and ask. I might not have all the answers, but I have a relationship with the one who does. So you've got to tap into that, whatever that is for you. Then as long as it's not you, man, we're not it. We're not it, Tom.
That was beautiful. You know what? I'm going to leave that right there. I think that was a perfect ending spot. Tom, I'm so grateful you came back.
Missed you,
Andrew,
man.
I love you like a brother and see you all the time. But I'm
Yes.
still happy to be like, you know what? Today just left my heart full and feeling really inspired.
I needed
Honestly,
this
good
today.
boys.
I needed
I
this
did
today.
too. I did too. And I hope it was good for you, Tom.
It was awesome, man. I love
I-
you guys. That was
Love
wonderful.
you, man. That was
I
awesome.
want to
man.
have you like as a monthly guest, Tom. I would, like,
Please.
I know
Hey,
life's
man, I'm
busy,
into it.
but
Like I
okay.
said, this feeds my soul. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Ditto.
it
Ditto.
absolutely does. And so then I guess everybody out there, tune in next episode for more recovery fun. Bye-bye, everybody. We
guys.
love you. Please help us help others. If you've liked what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.